Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Givarinari Gopi Jana Vallabha Givarinari Yashodanandana Brajajananjana Yashodanandana Brajajananjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Rukmini Dwarkadish Rukmini Dwarkadish Rukmini Dwarkadish Rukmini Dwarkadish Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Gaur Premanandi Harimo, Jai Om Vishnu Pad, Paramahansa, Padavrajik Acharya, Asitarsata Sri Sriman, ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Divine Grace, AC Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nitya Lila Prabhupada Om Vishnu Pad Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavini Ki Jai, Nabhacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasudeva Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopada Shama Kunda, Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Shri Bhajamuman Namanam Ki Jai, Shri Namadip Mayapurdam Ki Jai, Shri Lachal Jagannath Purdam Ki Jai, Gangamayi Ki Jai, Jamunmayi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Shrimati Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai. Their most beautiful lordship, Shri Shri Rukmini Dwarkadish Ki Jai, Shri Shri Rukmini Dwarkanath Ki Jai, Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ki Jai, Shri Shri Gonitai Ki Jai, Samabeta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, going back to home, back to Godhead Ki Jai, ISKCON Los Angeles Yatra Ki Jai, Puri Hadwadanga Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai, International Food for Life Transcendental Prasadam Distribution Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga, glories to Prabhupada. Narayanam namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Deving Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamadhirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of God and Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, who's commentator, translator, and our spiritual master. Nashta Prayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishiki. By regularly attending the Srimad Bhagavatam class and by rendering service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving devotional service unto the personality of God and whose worship with transcendental songs becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're continuing our reading from the third canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 22. Or is it 21? Where are we? 21. And today's text is 35, which doesn't have a purport, so I'll chant that. 21. There's no purport to this verse, so I'll chant this one by myself, and then we'll chant the next one responsively. Atasam prashite shukle kardamo bhagavan rishihi aste sma bindu sarasi tankalang pratipalayan. Translation, Srila Prabhupada's translation. Then, after the departure of the Lord, the worshipable sage Kardama stayed on the bank of Bindu Sarovara, awaiting the time of which the Lord had spoken. So text 36, we'll do responsibly. Bahubir yaksharakshobihi. Wait, wrong one? Hold on. I jumped ahead. Hold on, let's see. Yeah, somewhere or other my computer jumped ahead here. Hold on, let me find the right verse. So 36. Manuksandanam ashtaya Shatakomba parichadam Aropya swang dhitaram Sabharyak paryatan mahim Manuksandanam ashtaya Shatakomba parichadam Aropya swang dhitaram Sabharyak paryatan mahim Manuksandanam ashtaya Shatakomba parichadam Aropya swang dhitaram Sabharyak paryatan mahim. Please chant. Vaishnavis. All right, synonyms. Manuhu, Swayambhuva Manu. Syandanam, the chariot. Asthaya, having mounted. Shatakombha, made of gold. Parichadam, the outer cover. Aropya, putting on. Swam, his own. Tuhitaram, daughter. Sabharyaha, along with his wife. Paryatan, traveling all over. Mahim, the globe. Srila Prabhupada's translation for this verse. Swayambhuva Manu, with his wife, mounted his chariot, which was decorated with golden ornaments. Placing his daughter on it with them, he began traveling all over the earth. Please repeat. Swayambhuva Manu, with his wife, mounted his chariot, which was decorated with golden ornaments. Placing his daughter on it with them, he began traveling all over the earth. Srila Prabhupada's purport. The Emperor Manu, as the great ruler of the world, could have engaged an agent to find a suitable husband for his daughter. But because he loved her just as a father should, he himself left his state on a golden chariot with only his wife to find her a suitable husband. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishnaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swamini Tinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shrunivari Paschasadeshtarine Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Jaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishnang Shnapitang Jaina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeyahang Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishavangscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Bhutam Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parjana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Bhutangsha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namoste Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripre Vancho Kopatubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Evacha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So first mentioned Swayambhuva Manu, not an ordinary person. In the list of the Mahajans, he's mentioned. Of course, there are many Manus, but the one that's mentioned in the list of the Mahajans is this one, Swayambhuva. So he's not an ordinary person. He's a Mahajan, somebody who should be approached to learn religious principles. What is to be done and what is not to be done. How to make advancement in this human form of life. Obviously very well situated. He's writing in the translation, it says golden chariot, and even in the purport it's mentioned, but in the synonyms it said decorated with golden ornaments. Either way, whether it's decorated with gold or made of gold. Probably not made of gold, because gold is a very soft metal. I don't think you would make a chariot of gold. Even today, people take their cars, some very wealthy people like the Sultan of Brunei. I remember reading he has at least a couple of cars that are completely gold-plated. So even today, people are like that. They want to be ostentatious, show off their wealth. So when you want to do that, you get gold. Golden ornaments, you decorate your chariot or your car with gold, etc., etc. Because gold has a very appealing quality, we have to admit. Even if you're not too much enamored, still, it's appealing. It's not by accident. Krishna has designed this particular elements, this particular metal in such a way that we're naturally attracted. We see something made of gold. But that gold ultimately is meant for Krishna's satisfaction, not for our satisfaction. We learned that back in the first canto, that the silk turban decorated with jewels and the arms decorated with golden ornaments, bangles, if that head wearing that turban is not bowed down to the Lord, if those arms decorated with bangles are not used for the service of the Lord, then it becomes just a burden. And we see that when people get some wealth, which is one of the 6 opulences of Krishna mentioned, how you recognize who's Bhagavan, he's the most opulent, richest. So when people get wealth, generally, quite often it becomes a burden. Whether you're born into it, you see those who are born into wealth, they are usually born into a walled community. Stay out, you're not on our level. So the hoi polloi, as we say, the ordinary people, they have to stay out. People who are born into wealth, and even after the wealth disappears, they maintain this kind of attitude of being better than everybody else. It's a joke that in England, formerly, the king would appoint so many persons to be a lord or a duke or whatever. But over time, the wealth goes away, but they hold on to the title. And they expect to be treated like somebody special because they have that title. I was born as the son of duke of whatever. And not only that, it gets to the point where they start selling titles. So a poor duke in England would sell his title to a rich American for so many millions of dollars. So now all of a sudden an ordinary American person becomes a duke of such and such. So it's a joke. Nobody's really a duke or a duchess or a prince or a princess. It's just another upadi, another title that we stamp on ourselves while we're in this material world. And only foolish people are, especially when it comes to monarchy, because they're not on the level of a Swayambhuva Man. He's a monarch, he's a ruler, but he's also a Mahajan, somebody who can teach us how to make progress in spiritual life. So that's required. That the kings, monarchs are supposed to be Rajarshis. Raja, they're supposed to have that Shoryam Teja Triti Daksha. Yudhye Chapya Palayanam. This is the description of a Kshatriya. Must be strong, must be will never run away from battle. Yudhye Chapya Palayanam. Don't run away. But at the same time, Dhanam, they must be very generous. Ishvara Bhavam, they must have that controlling urge, which most of us do anyway. We have this urge to control others, not so much to control my own mind and my own problems. No, we always want to control others, down to the level of the thought. We want to tell others how to think. Why you think like that? This is how you should think. But it's understandable. We have this Ishvara Bhava because it's there in Krishna, naturally. As a supreme person, he's the supreme controller. And therefore, he has the urge naturally to control everyone, and he should because he's the supreme being. And he has demonstrated it in his pastime with Kardama Muni. When Lord Vishnu approached on Garuda, he told him exactly what's going to happen in the future. He told him exactly what's going to happen because he knows. And he says that in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, Vedaham samatitani vartamani tavarjuna bhavishyami shabhutani mam tu veda shakashana. Very important verse. Veda aham. Veda means knowledge. Aham, I. Samatitani. I know everything, Krishna says. Past, present, and future. Therefore, we have this little joke in ISKCON. Not a joke. It's funny, but it's humorous, but it's To the point, you can fool some of the people all of the time. And you can fool all of the people some of the time. But you can't fool Krishna even one time. So don't try. How are you going to hide anything from Krishna? We can pretend all we want to be, that I'm this, I'm that. But Krishna knows exactly what you are. So Krishna knew exactly what Kardama Muni is. He knew exactly his heart, what he wanted. So he told him, yes, I'm going to fulfill your desire. This is exactly what's going to happen. Swayambhuva Muni is going to come with his wife and daughter, and she will get married to you. Like that, he told him everything. You will have so many sons, daughters, they'll be married to the sages, and then I will appear as your son. So everything was already told. So Kardama Muni was peaceful, didn't have to worry about anything. Kardama Muni is also a very highly elevated person. Even though he had mystic power, could create this aerial mansion, flying all over the universe, he was not attached to that. It's not that after they came back, they said, okay, let's do that again next year, or maybe let's go to another universe. Can you take me to another universe? I already saw this one. No. As soon as he came back, he was ready to go, back to renunciation, the real purpose of his life. And Devahuti, it's coming up, but it's a verse that stuck with me because it's very poignant. She said, Saham Bhagavato Nunam Vanchita Maya Jadam Yastam Vimukta Papanya Namamukshaya Vardhana. She says, oh my Lord, she called her husband Lord, Saham Bhagavato Nunam Vanchita Maya Jadam. Surely, the way Prabhupada translates is very nice. Surely I have been solidly cheated by the insurmountable illusory energy of the Lord. We should remember these points. If you don't surrender to Krishna, then you're constantly, every moment, being cheated solidly by the insurmountable material energy of the Lord. In other words, she's always proposing, do this, do that, make this plan, make that plan. Complete Mangalarti, class, don't worry about that. Let's go here, there, do this, do that. That's being cheated. So the vast majority of people, they don't know they're being cheated. But Devahuti, being an exalted spiritual person herself, she knew. Surely I've been solidly cheated by the insurmountable material energy of the Supreme Lord. Because, why did she think like that? She said, because although I had your association, she knew her husband is a great sage. Although I had your association, which can give liberation, I did not seek liberation. In other words, she's chastising herself for wanting to travel all over the universe and see everything, and they enjoy it in so many ways. But that's not the goal of life. That'll never make us happy. Some of you may notice I changed my car. I sold my Tesla Model 3 and I got an older Tesla. So before I even met the guy that I bought the car from, I told him, he said, we were chatting. I said, I'm a spiritual trainer. And he said, oh, I need some spiritual training. We have to have lunch together. So I thought, okay, this guy is maybe a little bit advanced person. So we met, and immediately I sensed, something was. He's a wealthy guy, owns his own company, has employees. He had one of his employees come with him to the parking lot where we met. We met at a Chase Bank, and so then he told the employee, take him for a ride in the car, so he gets familiar with it. So while we were driving, I'm driving, an employee sitting next to me. So this young man, he said, I really like you already. He said, you're so calm. He said, my boss, he's always like, bouncing off the wall like that. So I said, yeah, I sense that about him. I said, I sense there's something wrong. And he said, yes, his son, who used to be his right-hand man in the company, died recently. Motorcycle accident. So this is what's going on. You may be wealthy. You think everything is fine. And then something happens. Something happens to somebody that's important to you, and then ultimately something will happen to us. But we don't see that. We don't see that. Somehow or other, we don't see it. That's called Pashyanapi Napashyati. Even though we're experienced, we still don't see our ultimate demise. That's back in the beginning of the second canto. Deyapatar Kalatradishu. Atma Saineshu Asanapi. Kalisa Samana Nityanam. Pashyanapi Napashyati. We take shelter of fallible soldiers. One who does not inquire into Atma Tattva, or one who's not intelligent, does not inquire into the problems of life, being too much attached to the bodily soldiers, to the fallible soldiers like the body, children, and wife. All those sufficiently experienced, we don't see our ultimate demise. So this guy is lamenting the death of his son. So understanding that, I actually, before I knew, I sensed just talking to him that something was wrong. So I brought a stack, I call my spiritual trainer stack of books. Bhagavad Gita, Science of Self-Realization, Chant and Be Happy, Higher Taste, like that. I brought him a stack of books nicely wrapped up in a bow. And he was very happy to receive them. So I told him, yeah, you start reading these books, and when I come back from India, we'll meet again, we'll talk. So this is what it's all about. This is exactly why Prabhupada and the great acharyas, like today's the disappearance of Madhvacharya, right? He's in our line. Very, very powerful personality. Took shelter and heard from Vyasadeva himself. And then his teachings are coming down in our line. So this is what the great personalities do. They don't waste time trying to enjoy in this world. They understand that this world, like Shampriya Mataji was saying yesterday, you know, we're meant to live in a peaceful environment with clean water, clean air, like this. Yes, that's a fact. But unfortunately, when people have everything nice, that's when they tend to forget about spiritual advance and spiritual responsibility. Even in our society, we see that. We see that. Somebody comes and they very diligently follow the process, and not that they don't make any advancement, but they come to a point. I told a story before, in 1988, I think it was, I was in the New York Temple, Brooklyn Temple, same where it is now, Skimmerhorn Street. And I was taking a turn at a table, because Janmashtami was coming up, so trying to collect some Lakshmi for Janmashtami. And this Mataji and her husband came in, and so I reached out to them, Haribol, what's happening? Would you like to give a donation? And she blew up on me. She said, I spent so many years on the street distributing books, collecting so much money for ISKCON, and you're asking me for more money? Ah! I was shocked. So then they went in the temple, and then the husband snuck back and gave a donation. He said, I'm so sorry. So like that. We don't understand, ultimately, if we're not fully surrendered, this knowledge that we're passing out to others. 327, Prabhupada would recite over and over and again. Prakriti kriyamani gunai karmani savas ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. The conditioned soul, bewildered by the three modes of material nature, thinks himself or herself to be the doer of activities that are actually carried out by the modes of nature. So we're not, just like we have our Bhakti Kevin here now, he's like the #1 distributor of Farsi books, at least in our neighborhood, I think in the whole country. So if he's walking around thinking, oh, I'm such a big guy distributing so many books, then he's not understanding the knowledge in the books that he's distributing. I'm not the doer. I'm just desiring to please Srila Prabhupada, and Krishna says, okay, tell this person to take a book, he tells that person to take a book, like that. It's not us. And quite often, we are reminded of that. We think we're on a roll, we approach somebody and they literally spit in your face. Get out of here. Who are you? Like that, isn't it? It happens occasionally to all of our book distributors. It's happened to me on the street. Just a reminder that you're not the doer. You're not the doer. So this Mataji forgot that. Whatever success she had distributing books on the street, it was for Prabhupada's pleasure. You please Krishna's devotee, then Krishna is pleased. So every morning we're reciting that line, most of the time incorrectly. Yasya prasada bhagavat. Yasya prasada nagati. It's not Yasya prasada. It's Yasya prasada bhagavat prasada. Yasya prasada. It's a combination of Yasya and Aprasad. So the first part is Yasya prasada. By the mercy of the spiritual master, we get Krishna's mercy. And then Yasya Aprasada. Aprasad. If we don't get the mercy of the spiritual master, then we don't get Krishna's mercy. So Prabhupada always stressed, don't jump over. Don't try to go directly to Krishna and please Krishna. No, you please the spiritual master, and when the spiritual master is pleased, then we know Krishna is pleased. So it's very, very important. Whatever service we're doing, we should always keep that in mind. This service I'm doing for the pleasure of my spiritual master. And if my spiritual master is pleased, then Krishna is pleased. And therefore Prabhupada stressed, always remain a fool in front of your spiritual master. As soon as you start thinking that I'm so learned, where did you get that knowledge from? Where did it come from? See, we always have to respect and honor the source. So the source of all our knowledge in ISKCON is Srila Prabhupada. As the devotees advanced, sometimes they became very enamored with research. And I remember in '76, first time I went to Vrindavan, so many devotees were running to Loy Bazaar, to this bookstore, that bookstore, to find this esoteric book. No, we have everything is there in Prabhupada's books. Prabhupada, that's what the Acharya does. He condenses all of that previous knowledge and presents it in a way that we can understand. Kali Yuga brains can understand. So there's no necessity to go back and deeply dive into everything that Rupa Goswami wrote or this Goswami. No, it's already condensed. That's what those Goswamis did. Nana Shastra Vacharana Kanapano Sadharma Sangsapako Lokana Mitakarino Tribhuvane Manyo Shani. That's what they did. They scrutinized and studied all the revealed scriptures so that we don't have to go and do that. You don't have to go, study the Samaveda and the Rig Veda and the Yajurveda, and you don't have to do that. They've done all of that, and they condense all of that knowledge into their writings. And then Prabhupada took all of their knowledge and condensed it further into his purports. So you never have to feel that you're missing anything if you only read Prabhupada's books. You're not missing anything. Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Nectar of Devotion. Know these books. Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, or if you can read the entire Chaitanya Charitamrita. Know these books. If you know those books, then you know everything that's necessary for going back to home, back to Godhead, which is what we're supposed to be doing. Because this material world, even if still there's some pockets of nice places to live, like I've been to Switzerland many times, very, very clean, nice country. But even there, because this Kali Yuga is creeping in, I remember going once by train from Italy to Switzerland, and you're going up through these mountain passes, and even at the highest levels, I'm going through these tunnels, I see graffiti. Just like you see on the New York subway cars, big bold letters and different colors in these tunnels going up into Switzerland, which is in general a very clean country. So nobody's immune. It's Kali Yuga. And because the average Swiss is probably not on the highest platform of goodness, in other words, they still eat meat and this and that, so it doesn't last. Because of previous pious activities, when it takes birth in a beautiful place like that, in a nice family, that's based on your past activities. But what you do with your opportunity in this lifetime will determine what goes on in your next lifetime. So unfortunately, a lot of people who get opportunity, they squander it. Just like this young man I was mentioning who died. His father said he bought this motorcycle without telling me. Because if he had told his father would have told him no. He was 25 years old when he passed away. So squandered opportunity, born into a wealthy family, but died because of that wealth. See? Took that wealth, bought this fast motorcycle, went out to enjoy, didn't come home. So life in general is like that. Whatever assets we're given, we should intelligently use for spiritual advancement, not for enjoyment. So the father is beginning to understand that. He sold me his old car because he bought the fastest, newest car. I saw him again this morning. That's why I was a little late for greeting. So now he bought the fastest, newest Tesla. So he has to learn himself that that money that you have is not for your enjoyment. Bharam, that the turban, just like Prabhupada said, we decorate Krishna with turbans every day, nicely bedecked with jewels. That's what money is meant for. And if you decorate Krishna beautifully and you stare at Krishna's beauty every day, then you forget the urge to dress yes, we should dress nicely. Prabhupada said once, first dress, then address. Mukunda Maharaj showed me the story. He was there. One devotee was going to some government office. This is in London, because he had to, apply for or something. Anyway, so he was dressed nicely in a three-piece suit with a tie. So some other devotees were making fun, and Prabhupada said, "No, first dress, then address." But if we become attracted to Krishna's beauty, then we're not so keen to spend money to dress myself up. You see? We should look nice. We shouldn't go out in the public with mismatched socks and holes in the, dhoti and stuff like that. We should dress nicely to go out and interact with the public. But that's not our goal, just to dress nicely or eat nicely or sleep in a nice place. That's for people who don't understand what life is all about. We're meant to serve Krishna, become Krishna's servant wholeheartedly. And then that is actually the only way to be satisfied. Because money doesn't satisfy. Like this guy I'm telling you about, he's got money. He has a company. He's an engineer by training, and he took his engineering training and he designs and builds from scratch these medical equipment, MRIs and things like that, high-end medical equipment. So he became wealthy doing that. But that's not the goal of life, just to make a lot of money. Because if you don't use that money properly, it becomes a burden. If you don't use your beauty properly, it becomes a burden. If you don't use your intelligence, all of these things are meant to be used in Christian service. If you don't use them in Christian service, then they become a burden. You don't make any progress. So we can stop here. Maybe time for one or two questions, comments. Yes, Dr. Kevin.
Hare Krishna, thank you for the class and the mention of Farsi books. Yep, Hare Krishna, thank you, Maharaj. So you mentioned the key verse that the soul, spirit soul, thinking oneself to be the doer, is bewildered by his false ego because everything's being carried out by material nature. And in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, especially from chapters 3 to 4, Krishna considers himself the non-doer, and then he talks about inaction and forbidden action. And then he says that the spirit soul embodied within the city of 9 gates does not induce anyone to act or create activities. So he's telling Arjuna he's the non-doer, the soul. But then in chapter 18, when he tells him he has to, the perfection of renunciation, that mind, body, and speech are performed by 5 factors. Then Prabhupada says in the purport of verse 13 that sometimes the Vedas say that the soul is within the body is the doer. So my conclusion, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that in the spiritual sense or spiritual atmosphere, cosmic universe, where there's innumerable living entities, the individual soul is not the doer. But then within the body and performing one's own duty, that then Krishna or Prabhupada says that the soul is the doer in actions pertaining to mind, body, and speech. Is that correct?
We are being trained how to desire properly, because, as we say in English, man proposes and God disposes. So by your desire, you're creating future situation that is arranged by the Lord through his material energy. It's not that you're actually doing it. That's Krishna's point in the beginning to Arjuna. I want you to be my instrument. It's going to happen anyway, whether you do it or not, because it's my desire that all of these people die, that they don't go home. Now, Nimittamata Brahmasavya Sachin, you can become my instrument and take the glory of having won the battle, but it's going to happen anyway, with or without you. So it's Krishna through his material energy that's doing everything that we see happening. We are here to be trained how to desire properly. Don't forget what your constitutional position is. Balaga Sachabhagasya, Shatada Kalpatasya. The living entity is 1/10,000th the size of the tip of the hair. So that minute living entity in the material atmosphere becomes bewildered by whatever body it's placed into. Whether it's an ant body, same soul is there, or a blue whale body. They pass by here regularly going north and south, and they grow to be like 100 feet long. So, but it's the same minute spirit soul that's there. So we're being trained how to desire properly, because by your desire and the supervision of the Lord, the material energy carries out activities 327. That's why that verse is so important. Prakite kriyamanani gunar kamani savas. Ahankara vimudatma kartaham itimani. The living entity, bewildered by the three modes of material nature, thinks himself or herself to be the doer of activities that are actually being carried out by the material energy. So when your body is going out on Sankirtan to distribute these Parsi books, it's because you're desiring properly. So Krishna says, okay, let's motivate this body to go to Westwood or wherever and let these books go out. You're not actually the doer. But because you have the desire to please Krishna's devotee, then Krishna says, okay, I'll make this arrangement. You'll meet this person, they'll take 5 books, whatever. So that's what we have to be mindful of. Otherwise, if we think that we're the doer, we're just being bewildered. The living entity, bewildered by the three modes of material energy, thinks himself to be the doer of activities which are in actuality carried out by the modes of nature. Understand? So this is what we always have to remember. We're not the doer. We are being trained how to desire properly, and then Krishna, through his material energy, makes those desires manifest. You want to go out and distribute tons of Farsi books. So Krishna says, okay, go to Westwood, go here, go there, you'll make some arrangement, right? You met that guy who wants you to come to that festival. I won't be here, I'm sorry, I would love to go to that festival with you, but like that. So Krishna is making the arrangements. But if we're bewildered, we're thinking, oh, I'm such a good distributor. I'm making, so many books are flying out and this and that. No, we're being trained how to desire properly. That's what Krishna consciousness means. The spiritual master trains the disciple how to desire properly. And when you desire properly, Krishna then enacts. He says, okay, this living entity is now desiring properly. He's desiring to please me. So of course, I'll allow it to happen. You're trying to please Srila Prabhupada by distributing his books in Farsi or any other language that you take out, and Krishna says, okay, Bhakti Kevin, go to Westwood today, and he makes arrangements. Not everybody will take, we know that, but you're going to mean, and what this nice person, that nice person, and some books go out. That's Krishna's arrangement. But if you start thinking, I'm such a wonderful distributor, I'm #1 in LA, then you haven't understood. That means you're bewildered by the modes of nature. You're thinking yourself to be the doer of activities which are in actuality carried out by the modes of nature. Understand? Okay. Rantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.